Half, which is a pretty finely tuned sort of recruitment machine. And the last 4 years, I've been running my own business, doing sort of consulting. Whilst at Robert Half, I worked the desk, I ran a team, I was a director, I ran the learning and development, and latterly like the internal troubleshooting team, helping to look at best practice. So my business sort of does a mix of that training and best practice. And in the last few months, I've launched a really exciting tool called Nurture It. So I basically found over 4 years, I was giving the same spreadsheets time and again. And so Nurture It was about helping recruiters manage their leads, placements, and vacancies all in one place. So that's that's the potted history of my career.
Very good. Very good. Okay, cool. So Nurture It, what's the idea behind that? Because this is really relevant to what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, so I think the challenge that a lot of recruiters face is they focus very much just on like the job I'm working today. And they're going, the job, and they're sort of caring for it and they're nurturing for it. But actually, if you want a really successful sales pipeline, you need to be nurturing your leads. You need to be looking after the vacancies you've got today and also making sure the placements that you make stick and nurturing those placements so they turn into additional placements. And it's nothing that great recruiters don't already do. But what I see is in recruitment businesses is so many recruiters just get stuck working average jobs. They're working jobs where they have low commitment from clients. Maybe it's working with multiple agencies. They're competing with internal recruitment teams. And they're stuck working those jobs because they've got no pipeline of future opportunities that are coming their way. And so Nurture It was really founded to sort of try and help recruiters think a little bit longer term, to make sure they're doing some business development whilst they've got jobs so they can always choose which vacancies they invest their time in.
Okay, cool. Okay, I love the idea of pipelining because it's something that I've learned specifically over the last year or so so the first idea of build it and they will come was probably my first mistake, okay? Not getting my marketing out there, not being active enough, not really putting myself out there. The second thing that kind of I realized I had to convert into the marketing side of my business was the whole idea of pipelining. So I did it in recruitment. I did it whenever I was working with the in-house corporates. We were kind of running essentially what is a recruitment funnel, going through the awareness, consideration, education, conversion. And then I started my own business, Alex. And all of a sudden I thought that it was speak to somebody and convert them. Okay, we went from awareness to conversion and forgot about the rest of it. All right. Now, this is where pipelining comes in for me. You realize that somebody starts far away from your business and through the pipeline, they become closer and closer and closer to you. That's my analogy anyway. So it is. Yeah. So give us a wee bit of an idea, right? So what you have a large community of followers. You've done public speaking. You run blogs. You're always being invited to do stuff like webinars like this with me. How have you gone about developing that over the years, and how have you gone about kind of building that community?
Well, I mean, I think there's some lessons I learned from when I first started. So when I left Robert Half, my brain was wired a bit like a traditional recruiter's, which was like it's all about can I get a sale now? And if you think most agency recruiters are programmed for wins today. Can I get a candidate that I can send today? Can I send a CV today? Can I get an interview today? Can I get an interview today that's a placement tomorrow? Yeah, everything's all about the short term. And it's all about how can I convert something really quickly? And so probably the best lesson I learned most painfully in the first year of running my own business was the fact that if you've got to separate that sales mindset from the marketing mindset. And what I mean by that is that the sales mindset is, can I get a decision? Can I get commitment? Because that's what a recruiter's life is all about. And it's taken me a while to develop that marketing mindset, which is more focused on front of mind awareness, which is, hey, I'm here. You've got a watch. If that watch breaks, I have watches. You know, it's that front of mind awareness where what I do, and I know lots of recruiters do, is they ring clients up, and I train people to do this. And it's like, hi, I've got a great candidate. Do you need anyone at the moment? Hi, I've got a great candidate. He's really small. He can fit into the tiniest part of your team. All those sort of cheesy lines. And you sort of, it's just about thinking about what is marketing. And most recruiters think they understand marketing, but actually what they do is sell.
Okay.
And so marketing is really about front of mind awareness. It's about that, like at the moment of need, who do they think about?
Sure.
And that's part of what the email automation piece comes in and the LinkedIn piece comes in. But the challenge for many agency recruiters and even in-house recruiters is that they have no metric that is relevant to building something for the long term. Everything is about what are you doing today? And that then drives short-term behaviors, which means people never really get to have that funnel.
Okay, cool. So let's take it back to the recruitment sales side of things. What are the metrics that you have spoken to recruitment leaders about over the years that you're maybe transitioning slightly away from? Let's start with that.
I think it's not that I transition away from those. It's just I transition towards having some broader ones as well. So, for instance, a really powerful metric for me is always client meetings. Because client meetings aren't about can I sell today? It's about being there for the future. And often when I talk about client meetings, it's taking out the meetings that are for vacancies today and those that are more speculative. Other metrics that I work with companies now are things like the number of events that you've attended. Marketing isn't just digital, and it's about the physical aspect of meeting people and showing you're a normal human being. I always sort of say that everyone's perception of an industry or a country is often the collection of all the bad things that you can think about. And so what you often find is you'll meet someone from a particular industry or country and you go, oh, well, they're not bad for a recruiter. And that's because it's unlikely you're ever going to meet a recruiter that has all the stigmas attached to being in recruitment. So I'm still a massive believer in face-to-face marketing and phone-based marketing to try and dispel some of those myths. Okay,
cool. So in the scheme of things, right? So the aim and a really strong metric you're telling us is that face-to-face piece, right? Now, the old and traditional methods in recruitment of getting face-to-face, either with a candidate or a client, was very much pick the phone 50 times a day and see who you can harass into a meeting. How is that changing? And how are you changing that with what you're doing?
Well, I think the thing is, I'm still a big believer in the telephone.
Okay.
And so I still believe it has a tremendous value in the business development process, but social media and email are other tools in the equation. And what I see day to day is that it's either I'm all email or I'm all social media, phone is bad, face-to-face is old fashioned. They all have their role to play in the sales process. If you know someone's buying today, sending them a tweet isn't going to make them give you a call. And sending them an email is probably going to get no, I'm fine, thanks. So picking up the phone or knocking on the door if you really want to go old school is the way forward. But let's say, for example, if I want to attract someone's attention or I want to add some value or basically say hi, then email, social media are tremendous things. So one of the things I do pretty much every day is I have a feed I use Twitter to curate a lot of content. And I have a list of people I follow and I go in and I look at articles and I open up the article. I just forward it to someone I know and go, saw this, thought of you, which is the best sort of marketing you can do, and it's not about, can I buy? It's just basically going, hi,
I'm here.
and that's what marketing is the marketing is really just about how can you tell someone you're there without them going, I don't need any training at the moment, or I don't need a tech tool. And so if they say, I don't need what you're selling, you failed. The goal is to sort of just say, hi. It's a bit like often that gap between the first date and the second date is you can't text someone and go, I'm thinking of you. Because that's scary. Right. So what you do is you think, right, what did we talk about? What did we talk about that I could tweet about or text about that shows I'm thinking of you, but in a nice way? And for me, that's always been the background of how I've approached business development. But now it's about how can you do that in social media? How can you do that in email? How can you do that on the phone or face-to-face? The end game of the thought process is the same. The delivery mechanism is what changes over time.
Sure. So that conversion piece that you're looking for with the meeting that you're converting business, eventually you'll be face to face in a meeting with somebody, getting a contract signed off or taking a job in or whatever it might be. Not necessarily that meeting has to be, but you will be hopefully face to face with somebody taking a job in, and it's the journey of getting there. I like to refer it back to it was a class that I was in. I think it must have been Form 1, Form 2 over in Belfast, Northern Ireland. And the teacher of the business studies class that we were in told us that companies like Coca-Cola and McDonald's never ever needed to market ever again. They were that deeply embedded in our everyday life that they would just exist and people would continue to buy their product. Kind of like, well, I suppose, we breathe oxygen, so we drink Coca-Cola, right? Now, that begs the question, why is it whenever we walk down the high street that we see Coca-Cola in the bus stop? We see them in the shop front. We see them in the fridge. We see them absolutely everywhere, all over the cabs, everything. And it's not because they want us to drink Coca-Cola every time they see it, but the next time we're thirsty, they want the first thing that we think of to be Coca-Cola. It's like all of the product placement you see in TV. So these big companies are doing the same thing to us that you are talking about doing with clients and candidates. Yeah. Is that a fair way to look at it?
Yeah, and I think that the thing with TV advertising, there's some sort of game theory that basically says if no one advertises, they'd make 100% more money. But if your competitor advertised and you didn't, they'd make 120% more. And if you both advertise, you both make 90. And basically the whole point is to cancel, all the competitors cancel each other out. That's why Purcell and Ariel. That's a different chat. But you're right. It's about front of mind awareness. And often when I talk to recruiters and they go, "Oh, I don't like sales," and actually I say, "Well, it's not that you don't like sales. You don't like marketing, because actually they sell every day. Are you interested in this job? Do you want to interview this candidate?" Because selling is about commitment. It's about gaining commitment. Where marketing is just about hi. And the problem is that the way most recruiters market is in the worst way, which is about, I've got something, do you want to buy now? They might as well do PPI. And that's because they don't do enough sort of like, hi, front of mind awareness type stuff, which means that by the time they do need a job, they're so far away, they've got to be high pressure.
Okay.
And this is where some of the big firms really get it right. You look at people like Robert Walters, Michael Page, Hayes, Robert Half, they invest 1-2% of turnover in marketing. And think of the number of white papers they do, the events that they do. And part of the reason is that every time one of their staff picks up the phone, someone knows who they are. There's already a level of credibility attached to it. And so that's where smaller recruiting firms often invest in marketing and look at the talent attraction piece, but actually what are they doing to help their staff when they pick up the phone? The people know who they are. And the biggest group of individuals that are overlooked are often the candidates that are on the database. I think Greg Savage calls candidate databases basically candidate graveyards. And great agencies are able to bring those people into the database because they spent money to get them there. Like most of us wouldn't get £20 and then set fire to it. But most agencies are doing that every single day. And it's about how can the marketing team or the business owners invest in nurturing those relationships. So those candidates, you start getting more inbound leads. And that's where tools like Candidate ID, Beamery, or even agencies that leverage HubSpot for themselves, tools like Active Campaign, actively just nurture those relationships. So at the moment of need, they think of you. I think Dave Hazelhurst talks a lot about the 0 moment of trust, which is a terrific sort of ebook for anyone who wants to get their head around how people buy in today's world, produced by Google. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't know, I'm rambling, but it's just that you've got to put some of that legwork in early, and it's either got to be done by the business or it's got to be done by the recruiter.
Okay, cool. So there's a few commonly known different stages of, and again, I keep on referring to either candidate or client interaction. There's a few commonly known stages. Let's talk about candidate interaction first of all. And those commonly known stages are awareness, education, consideration, and conversion, right?
Yeah.
So as you're starting the journey, you're building awareness of you and your brand. You're then educating them on how you can help them. They're helping you consider you as the choice recruiter to work with.
Yeah.
Give us a few ideas on how you would interact with people through that sort of process.
Well, I use a similar stage myself that I teach people when I do training, and it's sort of similar, but the first stage for me is all about gaining someone's confidence.
Okay.
And I liken confidence to confidence in a doctor. So the fact that they study for 7 years gives me confidence because I'm confident in their knowledge. But the second part of confidence comes from the first 2 or 3 minutes of that consultation where a good doctor will ask questions about you. And so what most recruiters need to do is think, whether I'm on social media or whether I'm on phone or email, when I'm dealing with people for the first time, I've got to be showing am I showing I know what I'm talking about? Yes. But most importantly, that next stage is, am I interested in learning about you? And so when you look at most recruiters' emails, most sales emails, very few actually say, hey, this is what I think, but how's that relevant to you? You know, how many posts that recruiters make actually stimulate someone contributing their own experience and their own knowledge? They're really good at going, hey, we know about job search. We know about writing CVs. We know about this job. We know about cybersecurity. But actually, how many go, hey, we've got this job. It could be good for some. It could be good for others. But what would you think? You know, marketing that really works for me is where you work really hard very quickly to get the individual talking to you about what they want and what they think, rather than continually broadcasting what you think.
Okay, cool. So switching that from what I want to tell you to what you want to talk to me about.
Yeah, and so email marketing is a great way. How many emails are just, this is what we've got coming up? How many actually go, this is tell us what you think? You know, and we will report back on that. Okay. And so once you get confidence, you can move to the next stage, which is about credibility. And credibility is really about using the knowledge that you've got and showing that I've listened. And so if you think about Amazon, you go in and it goes, you bought this, you'll be interested in this. What Amazon's basically doing is building credibility by going, I know this about you, and here's what matches what I know. Okay. Think about it from a recruitment perspective. Mr. Client, I know you're in this industry, and I have a candidate with this industry. You know, recruitment is no more than tell me stuff what you want, I'll do something with it, and then I'll give you what you want. And that's all marketing is before the moment of need, saying, if I know this, I can do this. If I know this and this, I can do this and this. And it's trying to build confidence that you can listen. And when you listen, you can give people what they want. And that's where, again, email automation comes in, where you've got the ability to tag what people are interested in. I mean, that's all, that's all LinkedIn do, Facebook do, Amazon do, all the Google do, is when you're interested in something, they just give you more of what you're interested in.
Yep.
You know, and that's where bots come in, because you can track what people were interested in, and then the bot can give them more of what they're interested in. Yep. You know, and that's part of the automation of marketing, because bots and computers and automations are much more consistent at remembering and then actioning. Where most of it relies on a recruiter putting something into a spreadsheet and maybe remembering and then thinking, I can't be asked, I'll just ring up and say, I've got this candidate, are you interested?
Yeah, sure. So I suppose, you know, the old way of doing it would be about having a black book of clients that you could phone up and having their birthday written down and having their son's name written down and having their what type of dog they have written down, right the way down to their what they bought their wife for Christmas or something. You know, all this sort of very, very personalized stuff. I suppose some of the stuff that we're talking about is going more into the automation piece, where it's difficult to be quite as precise as that. So how do you build your automation, or do you manage to?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, do I do enough with my automations? No, but if I go into my tracking system, every link in my email is linked to a category, and if it's a leadership link, it will tag that they're interested in leadership. If it's a video, it says they're interested in video. And so when I go into my lists, I've got 200 people I know like videos. Now, at the moment, do I just send them more video? Not really. I'm sort of just collecting at the moment because you need more time to do that. But back in the day, I used to have probably 15 or 20 pieces of information, some of it personal, but most of it was like, these are the skill sets they have in their team. This is how they approach recruitment. And when you rang, you would be calling about something that's relevant to either fill a box or to say, you told me this. I just wanted to let you know I've got that.
Okay.
You're not recruiting, but I want you to know that if what you've got breaks, I have watches.
It's over here. Yeah.
And that's what Coke try and do. That's what Google try and do. It's all about front of mind awareness. And that's where often the mindset of recruiters is, I've got a candidate. Do you want to recruit now? Where actually it's just basically going, it's marketing. Like, you're not trying to sell. You're just trying to say, I've got it. Am I on the right track? And if all you want to do is, whether it's an email, I've got this candidate, am I on the right track? So I was, back in the day, a big fan of mail shots. But the difference between my mail shots and my colleagues' mail shots is my mail shots went to 2 people at a time, which was this candidate could be interested because of it. And so I would spend a day sending 30 mail shots to 4 or 5 people each, where my colleagues would send a laundry list of candidates to 1,000 people. And that's sort of where technology nowadays helps you do what I used to do, but actually much quicker than me sending loads of personalized emails.
Yeah, sure. Okay, cool. So as you're working through this, right? So back in the day, recruitment was very personalized. Recruiters worked one-to-one from their black books with companies, had those relationships. Recruitment, in many people's opinions, evolved to a very sales-driven, target-driven, lift the phone, battle the phone. Now, yes, there's still value in phone. I completely agree with you on that one. Recruiters are starting to get smarter with this marketing and the automation piece of the marketing. Yet some have still a long way to go to actually making that personalized automation. Okay, so what you're talking about, that shopping list of 2,000 potential clients they've got on their list, launching one email to them and telling them all about it. That's just sending a list to MailChimp rather than doing personalized automation. Where do you think we are in the journey as a ratio? Are we 10% of recruiters doing it well? Are we 20? Is there?
I'd probably say 2. And partly because email automation is still quite, whilst it's mainstream in some areas, it's not in others. The big drags are that most recruitment CRMs are not built for relationship management.
Sure.
So they're CV databases and built for search. So they are search-driven CRMs, not relationship-nurturing CRMs. The exception to that is maybe Firefish, who embed their website and they can tell you what jobs your candidates are looking at, and they're in that. They are probably the only one that's actually integrating that. And so what that means is that most coding in CRMs is either parsing, which means everything gets tagged, or it's dependent upon a recruiter tagging it, which means nothing gets tagged. And so recruitment firms just don't have the raw material. And so a lot of times when I go to recruitment firms, I spend a lot of time talking about, are you building your lists? Does every recruiter have 3 lists? So I know some recruiters, and every recruiter once a month gets an email from marketing that goes, here's your newsletter. And they can, and marketing and they ask, the recruiter does that, they do this bit, and they send a mail shot to the recruiter's lists, basically saying the recruiter's intro to the month, and then the same articles that go to everybody. And every candidate receives one email, and they receive the email from the person whose list they're in. And I know a few people that do that, and they get massive return. like recruiters are starting getting candidates going, hey, thanks for keeping in touch. I really appreciate it. And they're like, oh, this is brilliant. And that's because marketing see their job as supporting sales enablement. And so because they get something from it, they're really motivated to keep their lists up to date. Because they keep their lists up to date, marketing are able to give them better support and everyone wins. But the reality is you put someone in a list in Bullhorn and no one ever tells you to look, no one ever looks at it. So why bother?
Yeah. So you're saying that even that non-personalized marketing for recruiters is working, even that one fairly standard email to everybody is working. So we're not even talking about going to the really smart end of marketing where you'd be.
I just think, I mean, think about it from a candidate comes in, goes forward for a job, doesn't get the job, into the graveyard. History.
Yeah.
Just that's it. I mean, think about how much effort went into making that candidate. Think about manufacturing. You manufacture a candidate.
Yeah.
Most businesses would go out of business, the amount of time they spend manufacturing product that they then just leave in the storeroom. And so even just a candidate getting 1 or 2 emails a month that are relevant to either a job search, they're relevant to the fact that they've recently got a job, so how do they get promotion? So you don't have to cut it up hugely, but 5 or 6 emails a month to everyone in your database that are well-tailored, well-targeted, like just that only probably 10% of recruiters are probably doing that today, if that.
Okay, so here's my challenge to you, right? So there's 2% of recruiters doing it really well. There's 98% of recruiters not doing it so well, and those numbers are probably pretty good. How do you start out on this journey? Clearly, if you go, I'm going to become a smart marketer, I'm going to do highly personalized marketing from this point on, and I'm not going to do my normal activity, your sales are going to fall through the floor because you're not doing that activity that has brought you in revenue in the past. So how do you start to make that transition?
So I think in most firms it's got to be driven from the leaders, and it's got to be owned by the marketing team or the leader that's responsible for marketing, because writing great emails takes time. I started a career involving talking for a reason, because I'm ADHD and I'm dyslexic. Right, so talking is my thing. In today's world, for most recruiters and most sales professionals, it's as important how you write as it is what you say. But most people can't write. So it takes a long time to write a good email. It's a day for me. It's a day. Right. Once I've tweaked it and I've got a look from someone else and someone's grammar checked it and I build the list. And so I think individual recruiters working their desk shouldn't be producing these highly tailored emails. It should be done by the central marketing team. What recruiters should be doing is posting better content online, not broadcasting jobs, but broadcasting information that's of value and of interest to their population. Most recruiters never would have heard the phrase persona map, a persona or a empathy map, and just most recruiters don't think about their end user of who's receiving stuff. And so most recruiters are at that level. Start by talking about personas. So, and a good example of how recruiters don't get personas is how internal recruitment and HR are perceived as like Lex Luthor, like they're the mortal enemy. And that's because they're not interested in great candidates. They're not interested seemingly in hiring the right person, or they're interested in this process. So recruiters think they're awful people. The reality is they're a different persona. They're interested in different things. They're driven by the process. They're driven by cost per hire. They're driven by time per hire. And so if you can't show you understand those things, then you're not connecting. And so I know plenty of recruiters, because I do quite a lot of training around how to sell to internal recruitment teams and build relationships with internal recruitment teams. And the teams I've worked with, they're getting exclusive roles, they're getting retainers, they're getting first shout on jobs they can't fill. But that's because the mindset has shifted from them being a blocker between the line manager and the recruiter to being the client. And so when it comes to marketing for recruiters, I think you look at email automation and you're like, Like you just blow their mind. Like just start thinking more about your customers. Have 4 lists that each one gets an email once a month, and most people would you don't have to be a prophet to do well when marketing for recruiters.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So the marketing you're suggesting for most of the bigger firms, or even some of the mid to small size firms, should really be happening from a marketing professional. And the activity of the recruiter would be on a more personal level of marketing. If you
think about marketing here, you think about sales here. So sales have a marketing responsibility.
Yes.
Phone-based marketing, email marketing, internet-based marketing, but it's tailored to their target markets. Marketing's job in that crossover is to provide them with the content that helps them look good.
Yeah.
So one of the things that probably 6 years ago, the marketing team in Robert Half is brilliant. And one of the things they did a few years ago, they signed up to a tool called Hearsay Social. And it's only now someone like Hootsuite's produced a tool like Amplify. And Hearsay Social allowed marketing to basically put content with good comments into a pool. And then the recruiter could log in with their social media profile and just go in and share the content that was relevant to them. And it would put them in like a buffer type hopper. Does that make sense?
Okay.
That was 6 years ago. And and that was bleeding edge back then.
Yeah.
But that's marketing's job. They were providing good content and they were helping recruiters share it. And that's where marketing's job is, in supporting them. And so whether it be white papers, whether it be webinars, it's giving the salespeople or the recruiters or the marketeers, or the smarketeers if you're HubSpot. It's giving them the materials to have something to talk about other than, do you have a job or are you looking for a job?
Yeah.
And so when you're looking to so from a candidate perspective, when you're looking to nurture passive candidates, having white papers or cheat sheets on things like how to get yourself the next promotion, how to ask for a pay rise, those sort of things are things that recruiters can either over email or over the phone go, hey, we've got this new thing, thought of you, just wanted to see whether you're interested. I'm not looking for a job. I didn't ask you whether you're looking for a job. I just wanted to say, hey, I've got this, could help you.
And see, whenever you get that response, and this is actually something I was thinking through. So if you go from a recruiter that lifts the phone to a client once every 2 weeks and says, any jobs, or I've got somebody, and you move through to that email that just says, hey, I saw this. What do you think of it? You're going to get the odd response that says, why are you emailing me? I don't have any jobs for you.
Yeah.
And the first time you get that, sorry.
But they get that over the phone already.
Yeah.
The whole point is the game. This is the game. That's the game. It's a game. How can I touch someone without them thinking I'm trying to sell to them? That's the game. Mm-hmm. And if they call me out on it, I go, whoa, you found me out. I'll try harder next time.
Funny, Adam G, I assume that's Adam Gordon of Candidate ID, has dropped on to see us. We are blessed by his presence. says that recruitment agencies' interest in this stuff is soaring. I think that it's because marketing's output can be measured now to the nth degree. That's a really interesting point that he's making, and it's something that you touched upon earlier. So if we think about the traditional way that we marketed jobs was putting adverts onto a job board, or in the old days, putting adverts into the newspaper. Adverts into the newspaper, you just can't monitor what interaction that's happening. Adverts on the job board, you can see that you're getting hundreds of candidates, but very rarely do you bother tracking how many are suitable, because let's be honest, the drop-off rate of applicants to actual candidates is pretty horrendous at times. And this is where the recruitment marketing piece comes in, where you're seeing the clicks, the visits on the websites, the people that are engaging with your content, and then you're able to have meaningful conversations with people. And I think that's what you were going with your list building, where maybe you're not using it to the fullest degree right now, you were saying, but in the future it'll be, You're interested in leadership, here's leadership. You're interested in videos, here's videos.
Yeah, and that's where part of the problem is recruiters don't speak to the same people over a sustained period of time to build any sort of relationship. It's all like, basically, they just go up and they go, "Hi, would you like to have sex tonight?" and they just go, "Do you want to have sex? Do you want to have sex?" Every no takes me closer to a yes. And that's sort of the way that, and that is, are you looking for a job? Do you have a job? Are you looking for a job? Do you have a job? And so, where if you speak to people again and again, what you do is you train people to be interested, not in picking up jobs, but actually what you want to be able to do is say, well, what are you learning about that individual? And I was blessed by my first manager that at the end of every week, I wasn't asked whether I got any jobs. I was asked what information did I get that means I could call them back the next time. When I went on a client meeting, I had to list the 5 things I could talk to them about in the next 2 months that I picked up on the meeting. And so my manager was all about what knowledge did you gain that helps you nurture that relationship, than what jobs did you get. And the industry's just got out of that habit. And that's partly because through the recession, it did all become about the job. And also before the recession, recruitment became basically, if you've got a candidate, you can make good money. And you didn't need to nurture relationships in order to do well. Where when I started in recruitment, I was given Swindon, Cheltenham, Gloucester, accountants, temp, £6 to £13 an hour. And I needed to make enough placements to keep my job. And so it was all about, do I know everybody? Do I keep in touch with everybody? So when they have a need, they call me. Where recruiters nowadays don't really need to market, because a lot of them cover geographical spaces or niches that are so big, actually keeping in touch isn't really that important, because there's always another job. There's always more candidates, where the tighter the niche, the more you're forced to have to nurture a talent pool and a client pool to be there at the moment of need.
Okay. So if you were talking to a recruitment leader about this stuff, somebody that had a business that was still in the very kind of early days of developing something like this, how long does it take to transition from hit the phones to make sales to nurture relationships to make long-term business?
You're probably looking at 6 months before you start to see any consistent return. You will get wins quickly. There will be quick wins that give you belief, but getting enough of it to change everything that you're doing is going to take 6 months. And even, it's not that you have to stop doing. This isn't an either or. This is an and. Because what you're trying to do is build awareness, whereby when you pick up the phone or you do send an email, they know who you are. Or at their moment of need, they call you. So this isn't that you stop keeping in touch with people over the phone. This isn't that you stop trying to meet people face to face. This is in addition to it. And which is why marketing's role of helping people do it. But it's a mid to long-term play. It's 6 to 12 months. I know Adam's on, and he'll talk about some of the examples in Candidate ID where they've literally just put all their candidates into a campaign, which are 4 or 5 emails, and they're getting hundreds of responses and tens of placements. That's not rocket science. You can sign up to Active Campaign, you can sign up to Constant Contact, you can sign up to, there's no end of, you can do it MailChimp, but do you have the lists? Do you know what they're interested in? And are you writing good content? And that's, it's about the content and the value of the content that engages those people that you email that is really important.
To me, the stage where you're getting really smart with your stuff, Adam will love me for saying this, but it's beyond the clicks. So for many a year, we've been able to see people clicking on our emails. To me, it's now about knowing when people are starting to engage in general with our content more and being able to take actions upon that information. So for example, put it this way, you're an executive recruiter, you speak to a CEO for a while and the deal doesn't go through, you do not make the placement, he goes elsewhere, but 6 months down the line you receive a notification that he popped onto your website and started to look at your content.
Yeah.
That's an instant notification that either he's going to be a customer or there's another hiring decision to be had there.
Yeah.
And that's where this really smart interaction happens.
And that's what Firefish do as well. Like they can tell you who's looking at what, they can tell you when they've been on your site. And part of that, and most of the tools do lead scoring, and then they can tag up actions and tasks when people have done a certain variation of things, have been on certain pages. And this is why it needs to be in the hands of a marketing professional, because I mean, I play an active campaign and it still blows my mind. So it just takes time to get your head around, and most recruiters can't stop to do that. And that's where, when the hard work's done for you, you can sort of hopefully you can get some results, and that's where paying professionals of varying different types can help.
Yeah, Firefish is a great tool. The technology that's coming about these days is unbelievable, and that's why I'm doing these webinar series. I'm trying to learn from people that actually do it, which is fantastic. Now here, listen, the last thing I wanted to talk about, again, it's one of Adam's favorite topics, is that community gathering. Do we want to call it a talent community? Do we want the first rule of talent communities is don't talk about them? And that piece, so that gathering, so Recruiters Online, Michael Kellerman's group on Facebook is a talent community. The stuff that you're doing, right? You've been talking to me about some really interesting stuff you're doing for Nurtured at the minute, which is doing weekly drop-in sessions, weekly trainings, doing free stuff, that bringing groups of people together. Give us a bit of an idea of how you're building that community for the future.
I mean, I'm trying. You know, the size of the funnel you need to make that, the size of the funnel you need to make those sort of things meaningful is the challenge. I think the key is being really clear on what your target market is. Mm-hmm. You know, and the more generic and the more broad you're offering, the harder it is to build that community. So where you've got companies that just do, let's say, for example, dynamics, payments, you know, building a community in that space, whether you do meetups, whether you do attend of industry events or partner on events with industry suppliers, are easier to build. When you look at something like finance and accounting, you know, and you cover the Southeast, building a community is harder because it's just a little more generic. It's harder to give value. And also communities are a long-term game. It takes a lot of effort. I mean, I started a Facebook group last year and sort of got stuck at about 500 users. Getting engagement in groups is really hard. And so to make a group work, you've got to have someone that's working really hard to make it work. And there's so many other wins that recruitment firms could do before they do that. I just think it's a bit too far away. There's just other things that you can do that are going to give you a quicker return.
And one of those is engaging in groups that somebody has already invested that time to build.
Yeah, I mean, I've done that. I was running this group, and I was like, I'm not in any other groups, and I've had much better return since I just started hanging out in other people's groups and still adding value, still sharing content, still engaging, but personally also enjoying it more. And I think that's the key to marketing, is that you've got to enjoy it. You've got to enjoy the game that is the job. And if anything that you're signing yourself up to do every week becomes a slog, you've got to work out a way to reinvent it, because if you're not enjoying it, everyone's going to be able to tell. And again, that's where sometimes the benefit to outsourcing some stuff is that you're going to give it to someone that really cares. But I mean, I think communities are, unless you're in a super niche where it almost has its own community, I'd probably try and piggyback other people's communities, or try and sponsor other communities, or become part of the organizing community.
Yeah.
Just doing it on your own is a tough gig. And I'm not sure you're going to get enough traction to feel like you're going to get a return. But that's just my bag. So.
Yeah, one of the smartest community building attempts I've seen, and it's been working, is a company down in London that does a developer meetup. Now, they do it very specifically as a CSR approach. So they get developers in London together to do a hackathon with local charities to develop MVPs, minimum viable products, of systems that charities could use to automate their business, to save money, to make more charitable donations, that sort of stuff. And doing something like that, and not necessarily including your brand in it massively, just having a group of people together, delivering value to a charitable organization or a group of charities, is a really nice feeling way to do it. And the fact that you're at it.
Yeah, but they've got to do it all. They've got to do it for a long time. So an example of an agency, two examples of agencies that have done this really well. First one is Oasis HR. So they created the HR think tank that almost in itself now has become its own business. And they've probably touched 2,000-3,000 senior HR leaders in London area. That's probably more than the CIPD. And that's just them consistently running round tables talking about relevant issues. And that's been a cornerstone of their marketing and community building sort of activity and giving back. Harrington Star's another good one where they've created their own events and conferences that they encourage other suppliers to the industry to come to the same place. So they become sort of the nexus they become the community hub. They've got publications that go with that, although Toby would admit to the fact he's probably sometimes more excited about becoming a publishing company than a recruitment company. But you've got to be willing to commit to it over a sustained period of time. And that's where, again, it's about being willing to commit over 6, 9, 12, 18 months before you feel like you get some traction. Albeit, I had a client last year who we spoke about running some events. They ran a series of 4 events. Cost them 20 grand and they made 250 grand in placement. I mean, and their recruiters just talked about the events for 6 months and they got white papers, they got video. Like for 20 grand, it was the best marketing spend you could have from everybody's perspective, but getting the mindset straight that I'm willing to risk, it's just not direct enough. But their retention rate of new consultants has gone up. The speed to productivity has gone up, because they just gave their recruiters something to talk about that wasn't just selling jobs or
Brilliant.
Brilliant.
Okay, so if we have any recruiters listening, we're on Facebook Live, we're on this, it'll be shared left, right, and centre. You'll not stop hearing from me about the next couple of weeks about this topic. If you were a recruiter embarking on this journey, if you were somebody that was interested in marketing and interested in doing stuff, but you didn't know where to look, what books would you read, Alec? What channels would you follow?
So firstly, I think just there's some marketing 101 books. I think my favourite marketing book at the moment was See, Think, Feel, Do, or Do, Think, See, Think, Feel. I'm trying to find where it is. But it's basically understanding the contact marketing sales funnel. I'm annoyed. I can't exactly remember what it is, but I think it was recommended to me by Dave Hazelhurst. Dave Hazelhurst has a good book called Goosebumps. And what that's really good at is really focusing on, do you understand your customer and what they're wanting to hear? And I think if all a recruiter did was learn more about what people really want, the challenges people had as a line manager, the challenges they had in recruiting, the challenges they had in their job search, the challenges they had in their career. They're probably the 4 topics. And then they just shared stuff in that line, adding in the industry as well. They're going to get more traction. The problem is recruiters are really only interested in whether people are hiring or not. And so just ask more questions of what challenges are people having. And when someone's got a challenge, Michael Page do this thing where when you go on a client meeting, they tell you to do a column on the right-hand side. And when they see a customer with a need, they tell you to write it down in the column, and they call it the coffins, because that's what you bury the client with. Although I'm sure someone from Michael Page will tell me they don't do that anymore. But 10, 15 years ago, that was the mantra. but it's about listening to the need and remembering that need, and that's what you talk to people about, not about what you're selling. But I think it's see think. I'll send you the link so you can share it in a blog. But I think it's see, think, feel, do, or something like that. And it's a marketing strategy around what are you wanting them to see, what are you wanting them to think, what are you wanting them to do, and are you wanting them to care? I think that's
okay. Cool. From my side, I'm reading a book called The Business of Expertise at the minute.
Nice.
Not recruitment related at all. It's about running a business based around your expertise and how to do that. Probably one of the most disruptive books in my mindset for a long while that I've read. It's absolutely phenomenal. James Ellis recommended it to me. I really recommend getting that book and reading it. The other place that I follow so regularly, it's unreal, and it's the place that started to teach me to write in a way that people wanted to read, was a Facebook group called Traffic and Copy.
Right, okay.
I'm still trying to get Charlie Price onto one of these webinars. He'll get on here eventually. I promise you, I will torture him until he does. But those guys, when it comes to grabbing attention through the written word, either in email or in social posts, are absolutely phenomenal. So check out that group, check out the book, check out See, Think, Feel, Do, or whatever combination it was.
And Intercom, we've got Intercom, which are one of the fastest growing tech startups from Ireland in the last few years, which is every time you see a little chat corner in the bottom of an app, it's probably Intercom. They've got a free ebook on what they've learned in marketing of going from 0 to 100,000 users. And I'm reading that free ebook at the moment, and that's really easy to read and full of some terrific tips and tactics. So I'll share that link with you as well, Ian. And
cool.
You can share that.
Good stuff. And Adam, who seems to be taking over this webinar now, thinks that we should read Oversubscribed, Boom, and Co-opetition.
Oh, nice.
I've heard him talk about that co-opetition. It's one that I'm going to get because it sounds like it's a brilliant book. So anyway, folks, that has been this week's episode of Recruitment Marketing by Real Marketers. Thank you very much for coming along. Alex, thank you so much for spending the time with me and sharing your knowledge. I've learned a lot from you today. And I think that we have an opportunity to do another one of these in the near future and talk through everything again. So thank you very much.
No worries. Well, it's been a pleasure, Ian. And I post this sort of stuff all the time on nurtureit.io. We've got a YouTube channel and we've got a blog. So lots of this stuff coming on going forward. So thanks a lot. I really appreciate it, Ian. And thanks, Adam, as well, for your comments. It's been good to have you commenting.
All right, folks, jump on to nurtureit.io. Have a wee look at how you pipeline your recruitment activity. And please drop along to the next in the series of Recruitment Marketing by Real Marketers. You won't be able to miss the fact that it's happening because it'll be everywhere, as usual. But I look forward to seeing you there. Cheerio, folks.
See you soon. Thanks again.